Well, hi, everyone, and good afternoon. My name is Alex Calder. I'm with Interlink Relocation. And on behalf of Interlink, our sister company, Rental Relocation, and my esteemed colleague, Beverly Bell, we welcome you to today's event. We have a great program in store for you. We have invited some fabulous people in the industry to share their insights and their perspectives and some of the things that they're seeing in the industry, some of the things that they're doing, all in a collective effort to help all of us navigate these choppy waters in this challenging environment. I feel like you're going to find this very interesting, compelling, unique, and very beneficial. We are very excited that you could join us on this Wednesday. And again, we welcome you. Just some general housekeeping before we get started. We can't see you, we can't hear you. We do know that you are with us online. You do have a couple of different ways to communicate during the program. If you have a question for one of the presenters, you can use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We will certainly try to get to all of those questions during the program. In the event that we don't, we will certainly follow up afterwards. The other way to communicate is via the chat function. We are going to play some fun and exciting and I guess rewarding trivia at the tail end of the program. You will be competing for $100 Amazon gift card for each one of the rounds. It should be a super fun. So hopefully you can stick around for that at the tail end of the program. I did want to mention some of our valuable partners that help put this together. We have with us today Lisa Fontana from Rocket Mortgage. We have Mr. Scott Adaman from Going There Global Destination Services, and also Steve Gavin from Nelson Westerberg. You're going to get a chance to hear from each one of those individuals later in the program. Okay, we are to the point of getting into the meat and potatoes of today's program. I want to start just by saying there's a lot of valuable content. There's some beneficial information, and hopefully at the end of the day, you can walk away with something to help grow and better your respective relocation program. In the event that you have any questions, comments, you're going to have a lot coming your way in a short amount of time. So if you got questions, comments, this didn't quite make sense, I need more clarification on this point, I want to talk about this a little bit more, please reach out to myself or to Beverly or any of us at the Interlink team. We're certainly here to help you in any way that we can, and we'll do everything possible to do so. Okay, it is now my great honor to introduce our first presenter. We have joining us today, Alex Romeyn with Sotheby's International. Alex is going to set the course for today's discussion. I was just looking at, there she is up there. I've had a chance, whoop. What happened there? That creeped me out. Okay, I've had a chance to visit with Alex. I think you're going to find her delivery of the content and her knowledge of just the industry and the data to be quite impressive. So I'm pretty sure that you are in for a real treat. So with no further ado, I am going to bring up Alex Romeyn with Sotheby's.
Good afternoon, everybody. Excited to be here and appreciate being able to share some real estate market trends and future expectations with everybody. So let's start off by saying, you know, it has definitely been an unprecedented year and we have seen a lot of change over the last 18 months. I want to start with a little bit of the current market trends that we're looking at. So one of the things that we see is this weariness about buyers. You know, economists are suggesting that home prices are inflated by 15 to 20% right now. The cost to buy is high, the inventory is low, as everybody knows, and the competition is fierce. So we've got three current factors that are fueling the market that we're existing in right now. The first one is that prior to this pandemic, millennial families, they were already looking to leave their condos in urban areas and get out to the suburbs, expand their space a little bit more. That has not gone away. That has just continued to grow even further. we know remote work is here to stay. I know personally I'm living in Naples, Florida, and I'm happy that I'm by the beach. And I know a lot of people who are coming to Florida because they want to make their lifestyle different than what they've had. And they have that ability because the remote work opportunities expanding where people can live. And then of course the buyers, this is the biggest thing that we're seeing, is that the buyers once wanting new construction are now looking towards resale due to supply chain problems, due to the fact that they're not able to get into a home in the next couple months. So, there is that shortages inventory in most regions, which has that high demand for homes in rural and suburban areas, that in turn has that high return. So prices are up 25% in small towns. This is just a great snapshot for you. Happy to share these documents with you as well. This is some home buyer traffic. So this is going to show you kind of where the super high buyer market is versus the seller traffic is going to. These sellers are thinking to themselves, now is the time to list. High profit means good time to sell, right? The only thing that they have to think of is that only if they are ready for a radically different living situation is this going to make sense to them. Large suburban home to an urban condo is what they're going to have to think about because of the inventory opportunities or lack thereof. We've got a median list price nationwide over this last year that grew 17.2%. from 2020, reaching an average of $375,000. So sales price in the largest metropolitan markets like Atlanta and Colorado and Chicago grew an average of 11.6%. So what does that mean across the board? So there are some predictions that are being put out there. There is a lot of conversation about more sellers joining the market and considering that it's a great time to sell. Recently there was a great article on Forbes and shared some information that one of the hottest markets in the US based on the number of days on market was Manchester, New Hampshire. Realtor.com suggested that 10% of all US homeowners will list in the next 12 months. So if you look at this graph that I've showed over on the left-hand side here, the opinions of the experts that are out in the field right now is that this consistent business that we have right now, it's not going away. It's going to continue to grow in the second half of this year. And then the first half of this year, we're expecting kind of an overdue market correction, not the bubble that everybody saw back in 2008. I don't think we're ever going to go back to that space, but it's going to bring prices closer in line with the current home values. We are seeing home values, as I mentioned before, they are way up in some of our markets. And that is definitely a concern for relocating employees and companies trying to find the best place for their people to move to. We're also seeing that adjustment in the average days on market, right? So average days on market now, of course, in some markets right now, it's 6 days. It's 48 hours. That is depending on what the inventory is. There is that high demand for buyers, but the average days on market, honestly, will be 25 to 45 days. This past year in May, it was around 39 days. But I think one of the greatest things that we kind of see is that we have these people who are thinking that they're going to sell, right? So Zillow forecasts the home prices will continue to rise 11.8% by April of 2022, that there's going to be more buyer-friendly opportunities, and the sellers are going to come out of the woodworks a little bit more, saying now is the time for us to put our property on the market, get it going. The mortgage delinquencies continue to decline month after month, which opens up more opportunities, of course, and more adjustments in the market. And then here we have, for an example for you, for state to state, we adjust, right? So the Florida median home sales price rose 19.9%. Last year. We had an increase of closed sales by 28%, and the inventory is down 67.9%. So there is this kind of, so to speak, bubble, but it's not what's actually happening. We are seeing that as we move forward, some of the predictions that we are hearing is that prices will continue to rise in most of the cities in 2022, yet at a slower rate. Some of those top locations, and this is great for you guys to know, is that if any of you are in these markets, important to note that home prices are expected to still increase in places like Memphis, Tennessee. with a home value increase of 16.2%. You have Phoenix, Arizona with another home value price increase of 21.2%. You've got areas like Charlotte, North Carolina, again, 14.9% is what they're anticipating that they're going to see that growth, or I shouldn't say the growth, but the change in the values of the homes. And then of course, Austin, Texas, that's a hotbed right now where you're seeing the highest one going up to 25.5%. Now, when you're looking at the median pricing for homes in each of those markets, they range on the low side from $281,000, on the high side in Austin, Texas, to $733,000 for each of their properties on average. So we've got a lot of adjustment that's happening in the market right now. I think anybody who's in real estate has definitely seen an epic year, probably a record-breaking year. I know within our Sotheby's International Realty brand, across all of the areas that we are in, California, Chicago, New York, Florida, Atlanta, that has just been the continued growth. So again, going into the first half of 2022, we would anticipate, based off of all of our different resources, that we are going to see an influx of inventory coming back, and it's going to be a little bit more of a stabilization. There is still going to be, I think a little bit of that price increase because there is that demand. But, if anybody's looking to sell, they need to get out there, they need to get it sold, but they need to be realistic about getting their property exposed. And the fact that where are they going to move to next? They need to think differently about their living situation. So people who are moving to the suburbs may not get the pool and the 4 bedrooms and the office space. They may need to go from a single family home down to a condo and think radically differently about their changing situation. There is a lot going on in the real estate space these days, but overnight we are seeing slowly little more listings in each market, with that planned timing of a home sale happening over the next 12 months. So we will continue to see that rise and the adjustment. And of course, we all wish we knew what was going to happen next in 2022, but that's the real estate current conditions and the market trends that are going to be taking place from the powers that be, I suppose.
Awesome.
Well, that's very good. So, Alex, I knew that was going to be fascinating and quick. And oh my gosh, it's amazing to hear some of those numbers. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to bring up Beverly Bell. She's going to introduce the next topic, and I'm sure she's probably got maybe a question or two for you as well. So I'm going to add Beverly Bell, and hopefully you can see Beverly now on the screen as well.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Beverly.
Alex, I am so glad that you're part of this because you and I have been able to participate in some educational programs. This was extremely insightful, and a lot of the statistics and data were even a little bit surprising when you talked about a couple of the market areas. You sort of did a gaze into that crystal ball, but one of the things that I wondered too, you talked about supply and demand and inventory being low. Before we move on, can you do like a quick 30, 45 seconds on what does new construction look like? Is that impacting all of this?
So that is definitely impacting a lot of this because anybody, especially the millennials, are coming into a market and they want to have that brand new sparkly shiny home that they got to pick out all their finishes for. The challenges in the new construction space is that the builders are there and ready to go, but the supplies and the product is actually not available to them because of all the supply chain issues, which I'm sure we'll have some more speakers that will kind of tap into that a little bit, is that we're not able to get appliances, we're not able to get the finishes that are necessary. So it's having people looking differently and going back to resale and thinking, you know what, I can deal with this, and down the road when things settle out, I'll be able to replace that. I think the other thing too, and you may ask me this question, Beverly, but I think, the biggest thing is we had mentioned that the home prices are inflated by 15 to 20%. Right. So somebody's thinking at that, a new construction, they're happy to pay because it's brand new and nice. That is, from the perspective of the real estate side, that is going to adjust a little bit, right? So the prices being inflated that high. The prediction is that in the first half of 2022, they're anticipating a 4.4% increase due to influx in new inventory coming available, especially between the second and third quarter, which stabilizes the pricing in 2022 a little bit more, which then brings that inflated price of 15 to 20%, or those increases of 17.2% back down to what a normal growing market is going to look like. Again, no crystal ball here. I am definitely not the guru of end all be all. I think everybody wants to know where to invest their money and what makes the most sense. But I think people, their living situations have changed, and they're going to have to think differently about capturing what the market looks like now versus where they're going to next and what that opportunity or availability looks like.
Okay. So you did go ahead and answer my second question. Thank you again, Alex, and thanks to Sotheby's International. We so appreciate your contributing to this. So moving right into our next topic, real estate and the rapid home sale process, the impact it's having on the relocation spend. I'd like to take time to introduce two people, Gayle White of Ferguson Enterprises and James Bilderback of Interlink Relocation Resources. Gayle has been with Ferguson for more than 31 years, with the more recent 14 years overseeing domestic relocation and now global mobility for the company. Hi, Gayle. And we also have James Bilderback, president of Interlink Relocation Resources, as well as Rental Relocation, Inc. James has been in the housing and full service relocation industry for over 30 years and has seen and influenced many changes to benefit corporate relocation programs. So, Gayle, I want to start with you. And during the 14 years that you have been most involved with domestic relocation, there have been various market conditions that have been impacted in relocation. What stands out in your mind for the most recent, say, 12 to 18 months?
I'm just trying to digest what Alex just said. That, and I think that kind of supports, how we're looking at things. I think the most important thing is to always have a solid policy and a solid process, because it seems like it just changes so fast. Like we're just now starting to adjust to people offering more than houses are listed for, but it sounds like that's going to start to level out. So it's like you're just constantly trying to catch up. So I think, having the policies and processes that are, very sound, I think is key to keeping up.
Thanks, Alex. I wanted to appreciate, I wanted to tell you thank you for joining us, and we really appreciated that. I was too, not surprised, if you will, but when you see the raw data, it really starts to make sense. And then it starts to compound too. So you're talking about a possibly smaller increase for next year, but it's compounding on top of the increase that we're already having right now. So it's definitely an adjustment. And Gayle, thanks so much for joining us today. I appreciate your time. I know you're definitely busy. It's still a busy season for all of us in relocation. And I was hoping we can dive a little bit more into some of this home sale. We've talked in the past about home sale and home purchase, the process, the cycle times during the past year, and the ripple effect that's not only had with the homeowners, but the corporations also. Mm-hmm. We know that, the home sale brings tremendous savings to corporations to be able to do a BVO or a GBO. But that being said, in today's environment, we're seeing offers that are more than list price a lot of times. We're seeing aggressive offers, people wanting to, waive appraisals, waive inspections, do all kinds of things to be able to get homes. And for companies with a home sale program, that creates a lot of challenges because we have structure around the way that we do things to make sure that we're completely compliant. we're following all the steps. We don't end up with a home that was not processed properly, and then we're back in inventory, and possibly, an inventory where we've paid more than the purchase price, or more than the value of it. So let's talk about that for a minute. What are you seeing? What are you doing with Ferguson to get in front of that?
Well, we have seen several associates who are choosing to delay listing their home until they're able to purchase in the new location. The reason for that is, they could end up in temp living if their house sells quickly or whatever. We have had some folks who did not wait, and they have ended up in extended temp living because they can't find a new home. And we have even had some folks who have decided to just rent and kind of wait it out and see what's going to happen.
I gotcha. And it sounds like it's kind of a case by case basis.
It is. Yeah.
Have you found where you're seeing the switch where you're delaying the home sale into the home purchase? That seems like that would be not only a cost savings for storage, but for temp living and some other components. How has that worked out for you?
It's worked well. I mean, we of course don't want them to wait very long to list their house, but we have been allowing them to wait for a little while to list their current home to see what's happening in the destination market, and that seems to be working, pretty well.
Yeah. I mean, the cost with temp living, the cost with storage, we're seeing increase all the way across the board. And definitely we're seeing delays with the home sale also, because as we said in inventory, I keep track of it because we do real estate, obviously. And it's just amazing how low inventory is right now. With your policies, have you made any adjustments with that, or do you review, homes that come in with huge offers ahead of time? Do you have different things in place?
Right. So what we're doing with when we get an offer that is over list, we're using the 7% rule, where if it is over 7% of the list price, then we're doing additional due diligence on it just to make sure that it's a solid offer. We may try to negotiate the sale to include as you mentioned a while ago, an appraisal waiver, so that the sale's not contingent on that appraisal. We're looking at what their funds are. So let's say they offer over, then we want to see that money. We want to know that they're going to be able to pay, regardless of what the appraisal comes out, that they're going to have that money. We're also trying to make sure our associates know the best offer may not necessarily be the highest offer. So we analyze all of the offers, especially when we're getting multiple offers, and we want to make sure that it's a qualified buyer, that if they are offering more, they have those additional funds. We want to make sure they don't have contingencies, and some folks may have the contingency that they have to sell their current home, but it may not be in the offer. So maybe that buyer, can't buy the home until they sell, whether it's in the offer or not. So we're just trying to put some extra proactive work into it and kind of get an idea,
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
And I was, and I was thinking about it ahead of time, and I was talking with some of our team over the last week, and it's the same thing. It's just like all hands on deck to make sure that everything is micromanaged, right? Everything that comes in, and we're doing the same thing. We're requesting, we're trying to guide our people to have their appraisals up front to go along with the BMA, so we can actually get an idea of what the actual price is. It gives us a better judgment. It gives us a better idea for us to tell if how much over this realistically is, especially if a lot of people are still getting financing. We're seeing cash buyers, but if it's going to be financing, it's going to be contingent on appraisal. But spending that due diligence to have those red flags of when to cut it off and what is, what we need to watch for, and doing that due diligence on that buyer is super critical, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bev.
James and Gayle, I have a question from the audience. Robert's asking, when every offer is over list price in a city or region, do your realtors guide buyers or make actual recommendations on how much to offer? So that really may have two different answers if you both want to respond to his question.
If you're purchasing or you're selling, Bev, say that again one more time.
Okay, the question is, when every offer is over list price in a city or a region, do your realtors guide buyers or make actual recommendations on how much to offer?
I gotcha. Gayle, do you want to go first or?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, the network that we use, I'm not really familiar with, with what they do. I mean, you would think if it was a real estate agent and they were getting paid commission, they would, the higher the sale, the bigger the commission. But
I think
I'm in hopes that they're being realistic. That's what I would hope in my heart, that they're being realistic. They're keeping the seller's expectations realistic, and, keeping everybody with a calm head when all these offers start coming in.
Yeah, and everybody always says, well, why do you need realtors? Why are realtors so important? They're a critical component to what we do. And if a realtor that we assign and we're managing that relocation is giving them the wrong guidance that we're getting, it's a complete rub. So that's why it's important to have relocation trained agents. They understand home sale programs. They understand what we have to do to get this processed. We're not just going to take $100,000. We're not going to do certain things. We're not going to put employees in jeopardy. But on the purchase side, we do guide them from our consultant side and from the real estate side also. So there's really two teams that are kind of helping this person with this purchase process. And I think, patience is important, right? And not letting people get too far in front of them. I was running some numbers earlier, and in the last 30 days, it was 50-50 over the homes that had sold for more than the list, and ones that sold for under list. So we were right at 50-50. There was the same amount sold over, same amount we had gotten a discount on. So I think some of that patience, and it's hard when they're in temp living and their temp living is running out and there's a lot of things going on. So things like Gayle, where you get creative and you try to look at each situation ahead of time, I think is an awesome thing for you guys to do. Was there another question, Bev, or I saw some come up for? No? Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the future. We've talked about some of the housing obviously increasing up 20, maybe more this year. Then next year, we're going to have some possible more increases. I personally don't think we're going to do. I think if the housing market crashed, it would be from an outside factor. It wouldn't be from housing, because we don't have inventory, and it's always a supply and inventory situation. So what are you doing to think about, the financial responsibilities down the road, in 3 or 4 years, if things do lighten up, does that come back to the transferee? Does that come back to Ferguson?
Right. And that is something that we're already talking about, is what is our loss on sale policy going to look like? When our policy was created, it was created in like 07, 08. And it was like, we need a loss on sale policy. And, it was just kind of thrown together.
Okay.
But so now we really want to be more proactive. And so we've kind of got it on the books the beginning of next year. We really want to like benchmark our policies, analyze it, and things that we're going to look at are like, should we change our caps on it? Who's eligible? Because right now, everybody that's a homeowner is eligible, should everybody be? We want to look at our exception process, because back when everything was so bad, everything was an exception. And the next thing you know, you've got a loss on sale of, $500,000, and then what do you do? We want to look at tax gross up. We have always grossed it up. So should we be grossing it up? I've also heard of some companies that will do kind of like a sharing situation where like the associate would take us the first however much percent, and then the company would cover the second. And we've never done that. So I think there's some interesting things to look at, and we want to proactively try to get ahead of it this time. I hope that it's not going to be like it was, before, but I also want to make sure that if we get to that situation, that we have some good data and good ideas, for how to address it, so we're not behind the 8 ball again.
No, I think that's 100% right. And I think some of it is even looking on the front end. Like if you develop ways to save on the front end, you can say, okay, we didn't use storage, we didn't use temp living, we didn't do some things in this market, but we supported it a different way. And that's going to help offset some cost in the future too. You can't say how much housing can go up or down. I think the common theme with real estate since the whenever, it's always went up. It just has some dips here and there. It's just when you catch it and when you need to do something is the tricky part, right?
Yep.
Sorry, Beth, go ahead.
That's good, Beth.
This is very relevant to what Gayle was just saying. Terry has a question that relates to the loss on sale. And if she's hearing it correctly, do you already have a cap to address loss on sale? And if so, how much is that?
Yeah, we actually have 2 different loss on sale policies. We have a homeowner loss on sale, and the cap on that's $25,000. And then our executive loss on sale is 70. The cap is $75,000. But like I said, when in 07, 08, around that, we found ourselves going over that cap, especially at the executive level. We went over it. And one thing that I want to do, I know that it's old information, but I want to dig back into what did that really look like? How many did we have? How much over were they? Because that's really the only data that we have is what happened previously. So I want to dig into that too and just see if our caps make sense, because honestly, somebody else was doing this and I took over right then, and I don't know where they came up with the caps, to be honest with you. I mean,
and sometimes it's just a financial number. It doesn't have anything to do with the actual real estate, because we saw the market drop quite a bit, so that was a huge impact. And we kept chasing the market, right? It kept dropping, it kept dropping. So those caps kept going away. And if you needed to move somebody, that was unfortunate, but now we also have some ability to work from home. So you don't have to necessarily rush into a move that might be in a situation like that, right? So you can weigh those things out that might not be as bad. I just wanted to take one more minute and just say, we've talked a lot about real estate, and I really appreciate it. I know we only have a certain amount of time, and I'm sure there's going to be people that want to connect with you and learn from, what you have to teach. Are there any other components that you wanted to share that, was something else other than real estate that's been on your mind, or is there anything else?
Are you referring to like different areas that it might be impacted?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you had mentioned before the temp living. Temp living is expensive, so we want to keep a handle on that as much as we can. The extended storage, which of course storage is pretty expensive too. And and then having delays in start times. They're having to negotiate sometimes with their hiring manager and say, hey, I've got to figure out this whole home sale thing before I can pick up the family and get moved. So we're seeing some having to do some kind of working around start dates. And then you start throwing kids going to school and all those other things in there. And, it's a tightrope.
Yeah, and it's a big deal. I mean, it's not just relocation. It's a family, it's a work situation, it's a coordination situation, it's operations. I need to keep working. We need you.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things going on. It's a new person, it's onboarding, it's an executive, existing executive that's super, important to the situation. So it's a lot going on, and we're going to talk some more about the supply chain.
Exactly.
So I hope
exactly. This is a perfect segue, James. James and Gayle, thank you very, very much on this. And as I just said, perfect segue into this next topic, which does relate to supply chain and the value of the relationships and partnerships. So I'd like to now introduce Rachel Barnett. So for those of you who do not know Rachel has over 15 years of global mobility experience, both on the provider side and now the corporate side. Currently, Rachel serves as the global mobility team at United HealthGroup as a senior global mobility analyst. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, thank you.
Hey, Rachel, how are you today? Thanks
I'm
for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Super excited to talk to you. We've been talking over the last couple of days about some of this, and so we're really excited to talk to you. Before I got started, I know you've heard a lot, and you probably maybe or maybe not have some comments on what me and Gayle were talking about. Was there anything that you wanted to add to what we were discussing? I know you see some of the same situations.
Yeah, I think you guys touched on a lot. I think Alex and Gayle both discussed a lot of what we're discussing right now. And from our perspective, I'm more on the domestic side of the program, just being proactive and just talking about, taking into considerations the market, the locations, our employee base, and just trying to have those discussions internally as quickly as we can, and just, start thinking in advance of next year, what's going to happen. So yeah, you touched on a lot.
Yeah, and you've got a big program, right? And you've got a lot of suppliers. Obviously, you're dealing a lot in real estate, and that's what I want to dive into now, is that supporting cast of partners in the real estate. Because the supply chain certainly has been, challenged recently, not just in relocation, but just in everything that we're seeing. Automotive, homes, being built. We're having shortages of some manpower. We're having shortages of supplies, actually. And there's been some difficulties, and that's been causing some frustrations with corporations, with transferees. What are you seeing on the corporate level, just as far as your supply chain and the partners you're dealing with?
Same thing. We've been relying heavily on our RMC to give us that data. And, we're seeing the delays at the docks. We're seeing the shortages in the vessels and the storage units. And so they're just communicating back to us, being our advocate, being able to say that they actually have an audit team that is looking at the pricing structure and knowing that, they're doing everything they can to be as competitive as they can, so that we can relay that internally. And so, knowing that this isn't going to get any better anytime soon, we're starting that communication sooner and deeper into our business model, at as early as talent acquisition. Hey, you're going to get an offer in to somebody, some key talent. Let's set that expectation now that, hey, this isn't an internal UHG problem. This is a worldwide problem, but this is what we're prepared to do. We want to get you moved. We want to get you in the new location. We want to, get those household goods moved if that's the key. One thing I've been hearing, not just within our company, but industry-wide, is thinking out of the box. What can we do if we don't have access to the household good piece? Do we incent our employees to maybe not move their things, give them a budget to buy things, in the new location? But then what do we do when, if it's an assignee, for instance, we're not going to give those goods to them for, that's not theirs to keep. So do we use discard and donate, which is an amazing program we use all the time?
Yeah.
Or do we pay for those goods to move back? What do we do? So we're thinking of sort of kind of an overall model, but is that also equitable? And also, is it sustainable? Is it something that, we're prepared to do? And also, is this logistical nightmare that we're going through right now going to last, for how long? We don't know. Nobody knows how long this is going to take.
And I'll tell you that those are some great ideas. I don't think a lot of people have talked about, hey, let me just cash you out on your household goods, and then we don't have to deal with storage. We don't have to deal with shipping. We don't have to deal with any of that. And that probably would work for a decent part of the population, possibly, but what happens is right now, I think it's what we talked about with Gayle, is that micro coordination, right? So not everything is just going through the same channels, right? You've really got to pay attention. You've really got to have your ducks in a row from A to B and deal with every move individually, which is making you heavily rely and making your team or your relocation team and your HR team really come together quite a bit more. I think in general, we talked about the price increase with real estate. You're seeing it with rentals.
Yes.
And rentals are what corporate housing uses. So you're seeing it with corporate housing. You're seeing it with employees, which is all your shipping and your storage and all the people that are handling those processes, or the corporate housing. You're seeing it really across the board all the way. And I think that getting creative with that, with the household goods, or looking for other opportunities for temp living, whether it's web-based rentals or hotels, or switching the process up and buying instead of selling, and using that bridge loan. Those are really key things. But how do you put those all into place all at the same time?
That's right.
How can you be that mechanism that offers all that and not be, so robotic and just trying to push everybody down that same path?
It's hard. Yeah. I think part of it is, again, having this internal discussion, being proactive, but, thinking maybe can we discuss this with the business models? Are they anticipating growth in a certain market? Getting ahead of that. So, I've used Las Vegas a few times in other examples, but that's a key example for me because that's a market that I go to, that I work at it. And we've got key talent that we need there, but there is not only a temp living shortage, but a housing shortage. So we've got these new employees, key talent moving here and saying, well, we're just going to have to build. We don't have a choice. Yeah. Well, what's happening?
It's a year.
Alex touched on that. We've got problems with supply. We've got problems with labor. So now we've got a 6-month delay for them moving into their brand new sparkling house. What are we going to do? And, UHG is such a proponent of duty of care, making sure that their employees are taken care of. If it's a cost of the business, it is, but we want to make sure that their experience is good, that they hit the ground running. They don't have to worry about these things. So unfortunately, they do take a hit. The storage is extended and the temp living is extended. So taking all that and looking at that and having these discussions with human capital, I want to start having them sooner and saying, okay, can we anticipate how many people you're moving into the Vegas market or the San Diego market, wherever it is? Let's look at that in advance using our RMC and all the data that they've got, and then come back and say, okay, we know next year in 2022, we might still be facing the same issues. So from a policy perspective, should we just automatically extend some of these benefits? Or right now we don't have dialogue around new construction. Do we put that in there? Hey, you choose to build, we're not going to extend these benefits because that's your choice.
I was going to make a note here. I wanted to not forget there. So, Bev, you had a question for Rachel?
I do. We actually have one that is, are Gayle and or Rachel using domestic short-term or commuter assignments to address the talent needs versus a traditional relocation program?
At least on our perspective, we don't have that much domestically. short-term or commuter. I am seeing a little bit more commuter pick up, and I think as a result, there'll be more discussion. However, that is not really our department. That is more of a business need. I'd like to kind of take that on because I just think that we've got more of a lens on what would be needed under a commuter assignment. So that's sort of just forthcoming. But right now, everybody that is eligible for relocation would typically get a policy. We have 4 policies domestically. 2 of them have home sale programs, the BVO and the GVO. So.
Gayle, do you want to add anything? Or?
It's basically the same.
Okay.
And especially now that we do have more ability to work remote, you can slow the process down a little bit if you need to versus, having somebody commute. But domestically, we don't have any short-term arrangements or anything like that.
And every business is different, right? Every business needs are completely different, whether you're in manufacturing or engineering or consulting, so everybody has a different need. And it's so interesting to hear both of you talk. And then I listen to all of my customers talk, and everybody has a different need and a different thing that they need to get to from A to B, but their functionality of how they work with their staff and their team is different for everybody. And that even adds more complexity, right? Because United Healthcare and their employees need something a little different than what Ferguson and their employees need. So you don't actually have to manage each one of those. You have to manage the employees and the whole team that goes with it, which we were going to touch on is getting everybody on the same page. And, when I was going back, when we were starting business in the 80s and we were a real estate company, property management, corporate housing, looking to do more relocation, we had worked with so many in-house relocation teams. Like that was a bigger thing back then, right? There was a lot of them. And when you have an in-house team, because I still work with them now, I see how they interact versus how we interact with, a corporation, and they act as employees and they're really more forthcoming. And the way that, and I always try to use that as an example of how we want to act too. We want to be that extension and act more as an in-house team than just some remote model that's out on the ocean. How are you getting everybody on the same page though? Because you've got a big operation over there. A lot of people have a voice.
Our RMC has been such an advocate for us, and they have kind of come to expect that we are going to be asking monthly, on the fly, quarterly for what's going on in the market across the board. And they're even drilling down into COVID. They're talking about hotspots in the country for COVID, and we're taking all that data and kind of implementing hopefully an action plan, bringing it back to the business so that we're setting them up to understand at the end of the year when we're going through our year-end reporting, that nothing is going to stand out as a surprise. So I think it's sort of almost like a team building exercise.
Yeah.
We rely heavily on our RMC, and they've been really great at also kind of doing an action plan, saying, hey, this is a problem. This is what we can do to solve it, or at least attempt to solve it. Here's the cost. They put it all together and package it for us before we even bring it back to the business, knowing that we might not be able to speak that level. So they make it easy to comprehend. And then in turn, that allows us to communicate back to RMC quickly, so that you understand that, we understand the gravity of it, but we want to get this taken care of quickly. And, from a cost perspective, time is money. So if we can get this turned around quickly, we're not hopefully extending anything, greater than it already is. That makes any sense. So again, just communication, collaboration, advocacy across the board, and really starting to, I think the communication has picked up so much more as a result, but just that relationship is huge.
Yeah, it's like no magic potion, right? It's just,
Right.
It's just the key things that keep us going. It is that, I love the communication. I like to know when everybody's on the same page. I probably drive people crazy with it, but I'm a little overboard. I've been communicating with people all day today. They're like, it's okay. Yeah. So Hey, Gayle, was there anything else that you wanted to add to what we've been talking about today? And Rachel, thank you, very much,
No, I really don't. I agree with Rachel. Communicate. You got to talk about it and make sure everybody knows what's going on. I do a lot of communicating ahead of time. I talk to a lot of managers and just had one recently today. And, my first thing is, hey, if the associate wants to ask questions or go over things, tell them to call me. I know my RMC is going to do that with their counseling, but I like to get ahead of it to see if there's any questions that I can answer. But yeah, that staying on top of what's happening it's key.
No, I agree. And for everybody, I mean, relocation is a living, breathing program. It's not something that runs itself. It's something that all of us put in so much effort and do it by choice, because you can tell the amount of years that all of us have in it. We could do anything we want in life. So it's good that we all like what we do, because it's a tough job. It's not something everybody says, oh, relocation is not rocket science. I don't know. Sometimes it seems like it. I mean, it's got a lot of complications to it.
Yes.
But I enjoy hearing from everybody, and I enjoyed both of your time, and I really appreciate everybody today.
And if I may, I'd like to just take a moment to thank all three of you, because this has been great insight into actually three very relevant topics as we are in this last quarter of 2021, but also rolling into the new year. So thank all three of you, as well as Alex Romeyn. So before we get underway with a few rounds of trivia, and we know Alex Calder is all about our trivia, we all are, we do want to take a moment to thank and introduce three of our valued partners for contributing and assisting with this event. It's without our partner network that Interlink cannot provide the level of service experience by our clients and by their employees. So first, we do have Lisa Fontana of Rocket Mortgage. And by the way, Rocket Mortgage is providing to you the continuing education credits for CRP, GMS, SHRM, and HRCI. So we will be emailing out to everyone in attendance how to submit for those credits. Lisa, can you take the mic and maybe introduce yourself and say a few words?
Sure. Thank you, Bev. And hi, everyone. So happy to be here. Again, I'm Lisa Fontana with Rocket Mortgage, previously Quicken Loans. And I'm in business development for the Southeast and the Midwest. And just super happy to be here. Grateful to have this opportunity to just continue to learn and stay relevant. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Scott Adaman of Going There Global Destination Services. Scott, do you mind introducing yourself and saying a few words as well?
Thank you. This is Scott Adaman. I'm here with Going There Global Destination Services. And we appreciate everyone's time today. It was actually informative for me to learn as well. So I'm glad that we could participate, because I know we hear all those numbers, but then really hearing Alex put them out there and seeing the numbers in reality was really interesting. And it was good to hear from the panel as well. So we appreciate that.
And thank you, Scott. Steve Gavin of Nelson Westerberg. Steve, I know that you're never at a loss for words. So do you want to introduce yourself as well? You're doing this on purpose.
Thank you, Beth. No. Yes, I'm Steve Gavin. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Is your frequency a little low, Steve?
Okay. Well, it says my trouble about me. So, yeah. Can you hear me now, Bev, at all?
We can hear you.
It's crazy. Hello. Oh, you can't. Okay, I'm sorry. Listen, I'm Steve Gavin with Atlas Van Lines, Nelson Westerberg. It's a pleasure to be here. We're happy to share our time with our friends at Interlink and everybody else. And what a great meeting today. A lot of great data from the experts, and it's great to get that interaction with everybody. I'm very proud of our company that within 3 days, we sent everybody remote. And on top of that, made sure we introduced all the COVID protocols for our transferees and for our drivers. So I guess we'll continue to move ahead and see what happens, but some great work today, Bev. Thank you. And thank you to Interlink, James. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everybody. And Alex Calder, I'm turning it over to you for some fun trivia.
I'm getting there, Bev.
I know.
A lot of buttons to hit.
Yeah, and Alex is such a whiz on our technology, but more importantly, you did an amazing job, Alex. Thank you. On with the trivia.
Thank you, Bev. You too. Okay, I don't know about you, but my brain is full. That was a lot of information and really, really good and impressive. I was impressed by all of the presenters and just a vast amount of knowledge that was shared today. And I'm sure that people are walking away with some ideas and some thoughts on ways to make things better in their relocation program. Again, if you got any questions moving forward, please reach out to myself or Beverly or any of us at the Interlink team. Okay, now for a little bit of fun. This is somewhat challenging, but you'll be happy to know that once the program stopped, we lost probably about 12 people. So your odds of winning have increased. There will still be some fierce competition. We had well over 50 attendees on the corporate side. So there's still quite a few of you remaining. So my advice to you is keep your wits, stay calm, and don't diddle daddle, right? This requires those three things are key to your success. Okay, here's the first question. As I told you before, all of the prizes are a $100 Amazon gift card. This first one presented to us graciously by Rocket Mortgage. Question 1, and don't hesitate once you know the answer. Before we get there, everybody open up your chat box. I'm going to do the same. Make sure I can see your answers coming across the screen. Directly above where you're going to type, it should say to all panelists or to all panelists and attendees or to everyone. Make sure it says something like that so that everybody will see your answer. Okay, everybody ready, excited? Here we go. $100 gift card at stake. I recently went on vacation. Hopefully everybody has had a chance to do the same in this crazy era. During my travels with my family, we drove the entire coastline of one state in 30 minutes, and we stopped to take pictures. Please tell me the two states, the one with the shortest ocean coastline and the other with the longest coastline. You may abbreviate the state if you would like. And your one hint is they both border an ocean. Both of these states border an ocean. There are guesses coming across, and no, they're not right. So California is not right. Rhode Island's not right. Delaware's not right. Texas, I don't think borders an ocean. Maybe it does. I don't know. You can use any source of information that you want, including Google. Maybe Google would help. Georgia and Florida is not correct. One is short and one is long, right? One's got a very short. Now you guys are just messing with me. Somebody has got both sides of it, but nobody has got both. It's a two-part answer, shortest and longest. Madison, you got the shortest. Deborah, you got the longest. Oh my gosh, Madison, you don't know. Alabama is not correct. You're very close. There it is, New Hampshire and Alaska, Madison Faring. Okay, see, so when you're using your abbreviations, make sure you know your abbreviations. I think she might have used AL for Alaska, which is obviously Alabama. Alaska's AK. So just a couple of quick notes on that. It's a beautiful drive if you ever get a chance. The other thing is you might want to take this home with you tonight. If you're using Google, it is super fast and super easy. If you're just using your brain, this little trivia question takes 15, 20 minutes. So if you want to stump your friends and your coworkers and your neighbors and and whoever, put this trivia question in your hip pocket. New Hampshire and Alaska. Beautiful drive if you ever get a chance to do it. Okay, on to question number 2. This one is graciously provided by Mr. Steve Gavin with Atlas Nelson Westerberg. And this question is geared directly towards his service. So let's assume that you are going to follow the Nelson Westerberg band line from Des Moines, Iowa to Sacramento, California, using only Interstate I-80. Steve probably knows this right off the top of his head. Going from Des Moines, Iowa to Sacramento, California, only on I-80, what states will you be traveling in? Again, you can abbreviate, and please try to put them in some kind of order. Otherwise, I will be confused.
Wow, you're making these tough for everybody, Alex.
The first one was super simple. I got it in like a second. Oh, Deborah did get Alaska and New Hampshire, but she was too late. Gosh, Deborah, nice try. California, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming. Oh my gosh, we have a winner, Heather Iden. Very nicely done. And you did do it in order. Heather knew that the answer was California, Nevada, Utah, Wyoming, Nebraska, and Iowa.
Whoa.
Very nice. So Steve Gavin from Nelson Westerberg will be in contact with you, Heather, to coordinate getting your prize. Okay, this next question is super duper simple because I know that everybody grasped every single word that every single one of our presenters were saying along the way. Alex Romeyn mentioned the hottest market in the real estate market. Somebody please tell me what that was. The hottest market today. It is not Austin, Texas. It is not Tennessee. It is, there's a New Hampshire, but it's not the New Hampshire market. There it is, Manchester, New Hampshire. Patrick Rahilly, very nicely done. Okay, you have won a $100 Amazon gift card from Lisa Fontana with Rocket Mortgage. So Lisa is going to make contact with you to coordinate getting your gift card. We have one more question remaining. Should be, this one's going to be super simple. We're going to see how fast actually everybody is. Very super simple, easy question. So we're talking about Amazon gift cards. We got Christmas right around the corner. How many days until Christmas? Some people might refer to it as Xmas. I don't know. $80. Heather Iden. Gosh, and you haven't won yet, Heather, have you? Has anybody knows Heather won?
Yeah, didn't she just win?
She has won. Okay, you cannot win twice, Heather. Sorry if I gave away the answer.
Oh, she just thought her Christmas shopping was done.
Terry was the first person to type in 80 after she was given the answer. That is one of the best things I've seen all day. Terry jumped on the opportunity. Terry, you have won a $100 Amazon gift card. Steve Gavin from Nelson Westerberg will make contact with you to coordinate that. Very nicely done. That concludes our program. I hope everybody enjoyed this show. I know I learned a lot in the process, and hopefully everybody else did as well. Again, we thank you for spending your Wednesday afternoon with us, and we look forward to talking with each of you soon. Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.